And with a background in education and a deep appreciation for nature's wisdom, she leverages biomimicry, interdisciplinary approaches to tackle complex challenges. Jennifer excels in community outreach, curriculum design, and fostering connections that empower individuals and organizations to live in harmony with Earth's ecosystems. Her mission is to contribute to a sustainable and equitable future by combining creativity, environmental stewardship, and a commitment to continuous learning. Jennifer thrives on
Oh, it looks
collaboration,
like horrible.
curiosity, and leading initiatives that align with her values.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this session on how nature can inspire creative breakthroughs. As Melissa said, I am Jennifer Babcock. You guys can call me Jen. I'm an educator and conservation advocate. I've always blended science, creativity, and sustainability in everything that I've done. I was a former STEAM teacher. I worked a lot with our K-12 folks with science. So I've always been bringing that together. So today I'm bringing it for you so that we can explore how biomimicry, the practice of learning from nature's time-tested strategies, can help us to solve challenges in innovative and sustainable ways. And in just this short little presentation, there's a lot to talk about, but we're going to get through just a little snippet of it. I'm hoping that you're going to walk away with a simple framework to start applying biomimicry in your own work or projects. So let's dive in. I know we all love a good "what are we going to do" slide. So today I'm just going to discuss a little bit of what is biomimicry, why biomimicry matters, a simple biomimicry framework, that connection of biomimicry and creativity, some real world examples, and just some final thoughts. And like I said, I'm going to have questions kind of throughout to kind of see where you're all at so I can meet your needs and stuff as well. So our first kind of question, and throw your answers in the chat. What is biomimicry, or what is your experience with biomimicry? How much do you already know about this funky word, as Melissa said, this biomimicry? Of getting new force connections from nature, nature's patterns and processes. I don't like snakes. It is the year of the wood snake. If anyone follows like Chinese zodiac.
Oh, the lovely wood snake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
the
a
year of the
fine
wood
snake, as
snake.
snakes go.
We have using nature as an analogy for problem solving. I love these definitions. Using nature as an inspiration for design, mimicking processes, tools from nature, the use of nature's ways to come up with creative ideas. I love it. So you're already with me. You already have that kind of basic information. That's great. So yeah, biomimicry. What is biomimicry? And you all kind of touched on it. Biomimicry is the practice of learning from nature's designs to solve human challenges. So really, in other words, kind of think about it. Work smart, not hard. Every challenge, from energy efficiency to structural stability, even to communication, has really already been solved in some way by an organism or a full ecosystem. Biomimicry is the practice of learning from these solutions and applying them to human problems. One of the most famous examples that I'm sure we've all seen is Velcro. A Swiss engineer actually noticed how the burrs clung to his dog's fur and used that same kind of hook and loop mechanism and created this now essential fastening tool. Um, I'm expecting my first child here in May, and I know a lot of Velcro shoes are going to be bought in the future, and it's going to be really helpful. I've also, command hooks are huge. My husband and I bought a house about 2 years ago, and command hooks have saved our lives. So this one small thing, seeing how these burrs stuck to a dog's fur, something that we probably wouldn't have paid attention too much to, has now actually solved so many different human challenges that we have. But biomimicry really goes beyond just inventions. It's really a mindset for problem solving. So much of creativity is really a mindset, not just a plug in and get your answer. So we're going to talk about that mindset today. So here's another question. What is one thing in nature that you think has a great design? What's something that you've seen that you've been fascinated about, or a design that you're like, wow, how does nature do this? Beehive, we got beehives twice. Yeah. They look like they're just like paper mache, but they're so strong and durable. If you've ever accidentally knocked one out of a tree, or I've always seen my dad kind of knock ones out of trees, and it looks like he's battling like a dragon. He can't even break this beehive down. Spider webs. Yep, I have some examples. We'll talk about spider webs today. Snake skin, ant hills, seahorses. Yes, males giving birth. If my husband could carry this child instead of me, oh man. The wine industry would do way better than it has been. It's been on a 7-month hiatus right now. Coral, the way nature filters and purifies water. Yep, beehives again. Oh, awesome. Yeah. So again, you've already kind of seen these things, even if you're not sure or that it was biomimicry. So why does biomimicry matter? I'm going to use a metaphor of dissecting a flower to kind of keep that nature theme going. And it's going to help us to look closer at that genius that comes from nature and how we can embody this creative mindset. So the roots symbolize that deep history of evolution as nature's testing grounds. Nature has 3.8 billion years of research, design, and data that's already been done for us. Again, work smart, not hard. Nature has been evolving and solving and refining these solutions, and only the most efficient and sustainable designs survive. So they've already kind of done the prototyping and the testing for us, and we can be inspired by that to see what we can do for our own designs. And everything that nature has done is not just efficient, but sustainable. Every living thing has evolved to survive efficiently, meaning no waste, whether it's no waste of energy or no waste of resources. Nothing that's created from created from nature then creates an additional waste product. It's been used or it gets reused by something else. And it also has no unnecessary complexities. Again, keep it easy breezy. That's why we feel so comfortable and chill when we're in nature, right? It's not extra complex for no reason. If we move on to the stem, that's going to represent our structure and our function. Just like nature's optimized designs, natural systems waste nothing, unlike many of our human-made solutions. Every function that nature has serves a purpose. It's sustainable, not only efficient, but self-sufficient many of the times. And it's adaptable. Something, especially in this day and age, we need to be really great at adapting. Moving on to those leaves, they are constantly adjusting to light, air, and water. I don't know if anyone's ever seen time lapses of how the plants move throughout the day when you're not really paying attention to them. You know, you have your plant over on your shelf and you don't really notice these changes, but when you see these time lapses, these leaves are moving and they are constantly adjusting to the environment and the surroundings. So just like how biomimicry leads to flexible, adaptable, and innovative solutions, biomimicry is going to encourage us to create adaptive problem-solving designs like shape-shifting materials that could be inspired by pine cones, how they overlap, or even pangolin scales. If you have not seen what a pangolin looks like, please Google it. They're adorable. My husband won't let me get one for a pet. He says cats and dogs are fine, but pangolins are adorable. Moving on, the flower. The flower represents the blossoming of innovation and these creative breakthroughs. Every flower is a little bit different to the color, the petals, everything that's going on, even the seeds. Thinking like nature really sparks creativity, leading to these game changes, innovations like bulletproof vests that were actually, they use high performance material similar to spider silk. A couple people mentioned spider webs and that silk, and they mimic that for their strength and flexibility. So even something like a bulletproof vest where you might not think spiders and bulletproof vests, like what's going on? But it really is a big innovation and a big inspiration. So nature forces us to think differently. And instead of reinventing the wheel, we can just ask, how would nature solve this problem? That mindset is really going to help lead to innovations like window stickers that we're actually seeing. They're designed also like with the patterns of spider webs. A lot of birds actually run into windows because they don't know that that barrier is there. But putting this window sticker over it that kind of has a similar pattern to spider webs, you don't see birds flying into spider webs for a reason. It's how they're designed. But we see them flying into our windows all the time. So that mindset could lead to an innovation like just simple window stickers or window glass design, you know? So if nature holds the answers, how do we apply those principles and have that in our creative problem solving time? So I have another question. We're all from different places. I'm sure we're maybe in different industries too. Which industry do you think has the most potential for biomimicry? Throw your answers in the chat. Which industry do you think? Leadership? Got architecture, engineering, and really these questions are very open-ended, no wrong answer. So feel free to not put, you don't have to put a question mark or anything. Be confident in whatever your answer is that you're giving me. Because who knows what's out there, right? We got healthcare, pharmaceuticals, medicine, hospitality, aviation. Yeah, like really, it really can be anything. We got medicine a couple times. There are tons of medical advancements and innovations that we see from nature. Sustainability, of course. All right, so you guys already have the mindset. So let's just dive into the framework of biomimicry. So I'm going to keep with that plant metaphor just to kind of keep it going. That's my inspiration for this presentation today. So just like planting a seed, a clear challenge is the foundation of growth. We need to define or clarify that challenge if you want to go back and forth between the creative problem solving language. What problem are we trying to solve? We have to define that. We have to clarify that. So before we design a product or a solution, we must fully understand what that problem is. What problem are we addressing? Is it reducing waste? Is it resource inefficiency? Is it energy needs, budget, whatever it all could be? We have to know what that problem is first to be able to really truly be inspired by nature properly with that. So next we observe nature's models. As the plant begins to sprout, we start to see that nature already has these solutions to many of the problems. Again, 3.8 billion years of research. I don't think anything else has that many years of research that we could go on. And this is the phase where we really begin to learn from all of that research. That observation is really important. And just like a bunch of you mentioned that nature's designs like the honeybee's hexagonal patterns, that actually addresses efficiency, resilience, and waste by having that kind of design. And that's second nature, pun intended, for our, creatures and our ecosystems. And it's something that we can really see and mimic. Again, as that plant starts to produce leaves, that helps the plant to sustain itself. And this is when we discover the principles of nature's solutions. And this step is all about decoding the systems that nature is using to thrive. We don't really have one-off ideas in nature's. It really is a system where this affects this, which affects this, which is affected by that. So for instance, the shape of a bird's wing inspires aerodynamics of an aircraft. And somebody did put aviation in the chat. So again, you're already knowing this stuff. Or the structure of tree branches or mycelium or like mushroom threads can inform efficient transportation networks. It's really cool that they did a study not that long ago where they used those mushroom threads and they kind of placed them based on how the design of a city was laid out to see how their subway system was. And the mushrooms naturally kind of diverted and moved to show the most efficient system for that subway path to make. Because again, they're not going to do something that's difficult or hard. We chill when we're in nature. So it was really cool to kind of see that. So these phases are all where our mind is starting to ideate. We're going to be really in our divergent thinking based on what we've observed. We're going to seek all those wild and unusual ideas and just see what is being sparked by nature. As we move through that framework, as the plant blooms, we begin to kind of emulate nature's designs, not just copying that physical form, not just copying the exact mushroom, but understanding the process of what that mushroom does and how it makes nature's solution work out so well. And this is kind of where we start to converge our thinking and kind of bring it in a little bit. So we might look at like whale fins and use that natural design of the whale fin of how they move through water. By studying and emulating that process, we can design or start to develop energy efficient blades for wind turbines. You might not think whales, water, wind, and turbines, but that design really helps out. We do also see that wind turbines have been also designed by bird wings themselves. But seeing that water connection for wind is going to help with the energy efficiency of how that moves, because things that move through water move differently than it does through wind, but we can see how that overlap is there. Now we're moving on and our plant is bearing fruit. The solution we designed has been born. We need to test and evaluate the solution for its effectiveness and its sustainability. So once a biomimetic design is created, we need to test it, or this is where we would implement it in that phase to make sure it addresses the problem efficiently and sustainably before maybe we scale it up to do, a full production or a prototype or anything like that. Then that plant releases seeds and the cycle begins anew. Similarly, we will reflect and reconnect. And I kind of put the with there because reconnecting with nature is always really important for some of us. So, biomimicry is about that continuous growth and an improvement. Nature's processes are always evolving, and so should ours. This is also a really good time to reconnect to nature, recognize that humans are not separate from nature, but we are a part of nature. We affect and are affected by all other living organisms within Earth's interconnected systems. What we do at home affects our outer ecosystem around our house, around our cities and communities, and even on a larger scale than that. So, as these new insights are gained, we refine and adapt designs, improving them in a constant feedback loop, much as we do in creative problem solving, right? Rarely are we ever going to stop at the implementation phase and be like, yep, great idea. We did it. We crushed it. Reflection is a key component of creative thinking, design, and biomimicry. So again, with our previous slide, I was trying to tie in some creative problem solving language in there because biomimicry really is just another creative thinking framework. These aren't kind of one-off things. They can be and should be really, in my opinion, used together. So some big connections that they both have are that they both use a structured iterative process. Biomimicry and creative problem solving follow similar steps. We have, identify, explore, ideate, test, refine. Even if we call it by a different name, it's the same kind of thinking, right? For both, curiosity and observation are key. Just as biomimicry looks at nature for inspiration, for creative thinking, we thrive on just curiosity and exploration of the world around us, right? Whatever is happening in our work, whatever is happening on the drive home, I get a lot of ideas. In the shower, I get a lot of my ideas. So all that curiosity and exploration are in both of those frameworks. And again, I kind of touched on this. Both use divergent and convergent thinking. Biomimicry encourages looking at multiple solutions before refining one, just like brainstorming and creativity has us looking at all these different ideas that people come up with. Both require resilience and adaptability. Nature evolves solutions over time, and creative problem solving requires the flexibility to test and improve those ideas, ensuring they're not only novel, but we need them to be useful. New is not always better if it doesn't solve a problem or if it isn't useful for us, right? So some examples might be where biomimicry asks us to explore nature's examples, creative thinking asks us to seek wild and unusual ideas, right? Biomimicry might ask us to prototype and iterate. Creative problem solving is going to ask us to develop and implement those ideas. Even just the simple ask of looking at nature is very similar to the tool force connections during an ideation session, looking at something, that we could either pre-describe or just have something different, or even taking a walk while you're thinking and ideating. Those are all going to be really important. And then focusing on how nature would think, act, and adapt can really help us to find those truly out of the box ideas. Nature isn't confined into these man-made boxes are man-made, right? So think just about the openness of what it is. And I know I kind of touched a lot on the ideation side of it, but biomimicry goes into all of those different pieces, the clarifying side with those questions, the development side of thinking about, what we're doing, and that implementation side as well. So I talked a lot here. So now I want to put it back onto you a little bit. What are all the ways that we could apply biomimicry to creative problem solving based on what you know about biomimicry so far? Throw it in the chat. What are all the ways we could apply biomimicry to creative problem solving? And you can think about this with your own creative practice. As a way to find new ideas and solve your problem. For me, nature really helps when I don't have an ideation buddy or someone to kind of work with, and I can just the trees might not talk back to me, but they'll listen, right? When I go out there. We often use it for force connections. Exactly. Thanks, Suzanne. Listening for how nature communicates. Yep. And again, communication, something you might not think about because nature's kind of quiet in a lot of different ways. But just because you're quiet doesn't mean you're not communicating a lot of ideas, right? I actually had done it with one of my videos on innovation series. Yep. Open Sesame platform. Excursions, definitely something we're going to bookmark and check out after this, Roger. These are great. Helping frame a challenge. Definitely can help with that and that language part. I'm a high ideator, high implementer, so I usually need help framing my challenges. My husband's a clarifier, so I usually need his help to make sure I'm focused and I'm on the right thing at the right time. So absolutely. Inspiration when teams get stuck. And I'm going to touch a little bit more on that a little bit later. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love these. And if I'm going to keep going on, but you keep throwing that stuff in the chat, I want to keep seeing it. All right, so just a couple of very, very small 3 lists of some real world examples that have used biomimicry and innovation are below. So I'm going to share just a little bit about each of these. There are also 9 basic principles of biomimicry that I'm not going to get into today, but I'm kind of just going to touch on what those, the principles that were used for these specific innovations are. So you might have heard of the bullet train. I think someone put kingfisher bird in the chat. I think I saw that. So this was in the transportation industry. So with the bullet train design, one of the principles that they used was that nature fits form to function. And they looked at the kingfisher's beak. The shape of it enables a kingfisher bird to dive smoothly. So when it dives into water, it makes almost 0 splash. That's not what happens when I jump into the pool, let me tell you that. But the kingfisher bird can go through, and because of that, with no splash, they mimic that design and streamlined it for the train, and it reduced air resistance and improved the speed and the energy efficiency. So it was just really cool that they're also using the principle of nature uses only the energy it needs. By reducing that drag, less energy was required. So they didn't need as much, a train wouldn't need as much gas or fuel or coal or any of that stuff because the design is breaking down and taking away that resistance you would get from the wind naturally. So it's just awesome, again, that there's no extra waste. We don't have or any of those extra pieces that we need. Also, another principle for the bullet train is that nature taps into the power of limits. It's not limitless. The kingfisher's dive demonstrates how nature used the limit of the bird's body. Kingfisher birds are not very big. Trains are ginormous, but it optimized that energy, and a concept that's then applied to those aerodynamic limits to use the energy as the limit, not just the size. And I just think it's just really cool, something that you wouldn't think about. Trains look so industrial. I wouldn't think of this beautiful colored bird, right? When you're thinking about it. But somebody saw that and was like, hey, this solves that problem that we're having. And thinking of cutting down on that wind resistance and other things, it cuts down on the noise as well, coming out of tunnels and different things too. So there's a lot of additional pieces that it can help out with. One of my favorite innovations to think about comes from healthcare and surface technology. So a lot of you put healthcare and medicine. So Sharklet Technologies is actually really cool. They use the principle of nature recycles everything. And shark skin, if it's very microscopic, but if you zoom in, they have this kind of overlapping structural pattern that helps the shark skin to be self-sustaining to prevent accumulation of harmful bacteria. So the skin itself is kind of self-cleaning in a way. Water has a lot of bacteria, lots of natural bacteria, I'll give it that, but it has a lot of bacteria, and shark skin naturally cleans it so it doesn't have any of those kind of skin infections and things. So by having that, they can cut down on avoiding the need for additional chemical treatments or waste in cleaning surfaces. And these surfaces are used in hospitals. They have stickers that you can put on door handles and things like this, where not only is it cutting down the chemical treatments that you have to use, but the time that someone has to spend cleaning. If anybody is in the nursing industry in the audience or anything like that, that how much time is spent on that when you could be focused on patient care, right? Or even working. I have a nurse in the family, and she brought up a great example about how this would be great for like a self-contained room for somebody who can't have external contaminants, or someone who has maybe a lot of allergies or different kind of conditions where they have to be in almost a super sterile room, that this would really help out, because you never know whose skin's going to react to the chemicals that you're using. Even something as simple as like a Clorox wipe could really affect skin. And I'm seeing that now, buying baby wipes for our future baby, not knowing how her skin's going to be. So another principle for the Sharklet technologies would be that nature curbs excesses from within. The skin structure prevents that bacteria growth without any excessive resources like we talked about. And that would have an environmental cost, not just that, monetary cost, but environmental too. These chemicals are not great for our communities. They're not great for our water systems. They're not great, for the whole environment. So not only does it cut down on cost, we have to think about that cost, but also what's the environmental cost? And then nature only uses the energy it needs. We talked about that kind of with the bullet train. That natural design effectively maintains that hygiene and prevents bacteria with those minimal efforts. Again, saving resources. Time is a big resource, right? For anybody, the time it takes for people to clean those surfaces. Imagine a big hotel you might have, or an area where there's a lot of travel. Do we have time and staff to be able to clean all of those surfaces to the level that we need to keep everybody's safety in check, right? And the third example I have is the Eastgate Center in Zimbabwe. So this is part of architecture and building design industry. They also use nature fits form to function principle, and they mimic the function of termite mounds. So the whole structure of this building actually allows natural ventilation and reduces energy costs, because I believe in this particular building, they do not have any external air conditioning units, because the design of the building allows the air to move through in a way that naturally cools the air within the building. That would be amazing. My air conditioning bill makes my electric bill go insane in the summers, but it's needed. I have to have it. But imagine if our buildings had that form and function and we didn't need that extra energy, right? Again, nature recycles everything. The Eastgate Center has those cooling techniques. It's all energy intensive. They don't have to have energy intensive air conditioning, because it recycles natural resources. The wind and the airflow is being recycled for cooling. I don't know if anyone's ever been downtown anywhere. Could be New York City, Buffalo, wherever you are downtown. The wind seems higher, right? Because the air is whipping through the tunnels that are created by our buildings. But imagine if that air flowed through those buildings instead of having to bump into it like a pinball in a pinball machine, right? So thinking of those designs, it might be a little bit more upfront to kind of, longer time to design it, but it has long lasting effects. And with this last example, and kind of all of them in different ways, but specifically the last example, nature demands local expertise. So they looked at the termites in their local environment, specifically how would it work? These termites live here all the time and they're not sweating. You don't see them with towels over their shoulders, walking around like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this, right? They used the local environment to regulate their mounds. So they looked at those termites as experts to see what could we do here in Zimbabwe to minimize foreign materials or foreign systems or anything like that. So these are just three that ideas that are really inspiring and cool to me, but there's probably more. So I'm not sure if you know, like, what are some innovations that you know can use it or have used it in the past? Any other ones that I didn't mention of innovations that use biomimicry that you've heard of? I know we had a couple in the chat earlier. What are some innovations that you've heard of that either use it or could have used it? Maybe you don't know for sure that I don't know if this used it, but definitely could. Medical needles. Yep, wetsuit designs. Again, kind of what mimicked sharks and other things to get that. I know that the shark skin's been really cool. Sounds of dentist drills. All right, Suzanne, can you tell me more about that? You can put it in the chat or come on mic at this point. Why the heck aren't they silent? Well, think about that. Could be a place where we need some innovation, right? Because noise pollution is a waste product, right? It means that some energy is not being used to its full extent and it's creating waste in noise form. We don't always think of noise as waste, right? I mean, we know it's annoying. That's probably why annoying and noise sound so similar. But we don't always think of it as a waste product like that. But how do we reduce it? Because if we have all of that noise, there's probably a lot of mechanical energy that's also getting wasted. And even if you have that extra mechanical energy, that's coming from electrical energy, and it all kind of cycles that we're using more energy than we need, right? So, Suzanne, I'm loving that idea. You're inspiring me right now. I'm going to fix dentist drills, and Suzanne, you and I are going to be bajillionaires. It's going to be great.
Oh, but listen, that is so true. I'm going to jump in here. The
Yeah.
Italians have come up with silent fireworks. And if they can do that, I just feel a lot more people would be a heck of a lot more comfortable at the dentist.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. And that's something I wouldn't have thought of like that. But and again, it's something that's like you were inspired by the nature of that environment of the dentist room, and we do think nature, beautiful plants and all this, but sometimes nature isn't always beautiful and we can still be inspired by that as well. Don't just look for what's been amazing in this, but look at maybe the icky parts of nature too, or the parts of nature we don't really love. And that can also inspire stuff too. So I love that mindset, Suzanne. Great. We got a whole bunch of stuff in the chat. Yep, we got falcons and aircrafts and all these birds and everything. Pigskin is huge. Yep, Megan, great job. Yeah, we use pigskin for a lot of different things. She says that we have heart valve transplants. The reason we use it for tattoo practice because pigskin's so similar to human skin. There's a lot of different pieces like this that we use pigs for and stuff. Absolutely. I would hope everything is humane and everything like that. But yeah, groundhogs in building design and weather predictions. I would love to see a groundhog actually sitting at the desk for the Weather Channel to be. Absolutely. Drones and birds. Yep. Absolutely. Great ideas. So yeah, so this is really great that you have that kind of mindset already. And just like a little extra that nature doesn't just inspire solutions, but it improves how we think. I talked a lot about mindset, and I think you all have that already. So the world's actually starting to describe time in nature to reduce stress, increase focus, and improve well-being. So like in Canada, patients can receive free national park passes that can be prescribed by their doctors. In Scotland, doctors are prescribing nature walks to treat depression. South Korea has healing forests. They call them forest bathing in Japan, where people can go to reduce stress and workplace burnout, which I know is huge. That is a form of therapy, and it's for a reason. When our minds are at ease, everything else kind of flows, right? And thinking of ideas. A lot of big cities are integrating more green spaces in urban planning for mental and physical health benefits, but there's also other ones, it helps with the air and all that other kind of stuff too. And then access to nature lowers anxiety, improves focus, increases creativity. These are all known research facts that we can actually see. So when we step outside, we engage in a natural reset. This is key for creative thinking and reducing stress and unlocking new ideas that we have. So if you're ever, going through an ideation session, a developing session, design session, anything that you're doing, if you feel stuck, take a walk. Just look outside your window if it's snowy and you don't want to bundle up. Just maybe open that window, get some fresh air. Just look outside, see what's there. Something that I like doing here in Buffalo when I'm stuck inside, a lot of zoos actually have live cams where you can see into exhibits. And sometimes I just watch the animals in the zoo just kind of walking around. What are they doing? What is going on? What's happening here? And those are free resources. It's really cool. And it's something that makes me not think about being stuck in my desk or in my office or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways we can get that piece of nature. So already, again, we can do this in the chat or come on mic. What are some ways that you could start to use biomimicry in your own work? Again, we're all from different industries. What are some ways you can start using biomimicry in your own work?
I think Hanley has a good idea here with, she's talking about strategic envisioning sessions for leaders, and I think nature is a natural place to go for vision
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. I do recommend taking a walk in nature when you're stuck for new ideas. Yep. Anybody already thinking that there's some ideas that they would want to start doing? We could always think about that. I know this is a shorter presentation. I could probably talk about this with you all for forever. And I'll have my contact information at the end. So if you did want to keep sharing any ideas, I'd love to keep in touch. But I hope that you're excited to start incorporating biomimicry into your work and thinking. Just a few ways you could immediately start applying would be, like a lot of you said, just observe nature with curiosity. Don't go out into nature hoping to find that idea. Let it just come to you, Don't force it. And just look at something that you haven't looked at before. I'm always telling my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this stick. And he's like, what? And I'm like, just look at it. I don't need you to look at it for any reason other than just to look at it, And sometimes that's all we need to spark something. And if it doesn't spark the idea today, it could just spark it tomorrow or a month from now. You'd be like, hey, oh man, I saw this stick the other day and this is what it made me think of, It's kind of just giving you some extra stuff in your toolbox. When you're looking at it with those fresh eyes, just ask, how does nature solve this problem? What's going on? How, nature offers endless solutions to problems we face in our daily lives. So just let curiosity guide you, right? You can apply biomimicry framework to creative problem solving steps. If you encounter a challenge, some of you talked about using it as a forced connection or different things to define that challenge and that clarifying phase. You can think of it as almost like a short 3-step process. Ask, see, and learn. What is nature kind of asking? What can you ask about it? What do you see and observe? And what did you learn from that observation? And just tap into nature's intelligence. And then look for opportunities in your field. The dentist thing's not in my field, but if you are working in a dentist's office all the time, that is something, where are your challenges? Where are your problems? You might have a lot of guests that come in that just get stressed out. Start with something like that and see where it could be. Whether you're in design or healthcare or education or anything, just consider how nature's principles can really inspire and innovate those solutions. And then you can get that fresh perspective. So I'm going to move it on again. Like, let's reflect on a challenge in your field, and you can put the answers in the chat or on mic. Just to make sure my references slides get on the video for timing, I'm just going to kind of put them through while you're thinking. But reflect on a challenge in your field and let's talk about it, or just any questions. I think we can open it up at that point for any questions. I have some resources. The Biomimicry Institute is huge. Somebody mentioned Ask Nature in the chat, which is great. The iNaturalist app is free. It's all citizen science data, so you can take image pictures of what you see in nature, and then it'll tell you the phylum, the kingdom, genus, species, all that stuff, and you can get some cool information. And then I put some references with links to some of those pieces that I have. So, Melissa, I'm not sure if these are going to get shared out, but feel free to share my slides if anything. And then just thank you for your time. But I want to hear your thoughts or any questions and stuff. How can we start applying this?
Yeah, and the session is being recorded, so that will be
Perfect.
uploaded, and everyone will have access to rewatch again if they're interested.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, any question that you guys want to, you can hop on mic, you can throw it in the chat, anything like that. Thank you so much for joining me for this fun session.
I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, this is Harry. Is there such thing as a library of, let's say, nature's ways of solving problems that can be accessed to match it to a problem, a wicked problem, let's say, that we may be trying to solve?
So I don't know of one specifically. I do know that the Biomimicry Institute and Ask Nature does have kind of like a collection of innovations that have already happened and how they were inspired. But I don't know if there's anything of, hey, I have this problem. What else kind of does it? I don't know if that exists. And if I figure something out, I could hopefully we have some contacts that we could share out or anything, or connect with me on LinkedIn, and then if I do some further research, I'd love to send it to you.
Okay. All right,
But
thanks.
I think with that, because so much of what nature does, it's probably harder to find one answer for one thing, right? I have this thing, what's that one creature or ecosystem that can solve it? There's probably some overlap in a lot of different things, so that could be why.
We've played around a little bit with
Oh,
ChatGPT and that, and asking
Yeah.
that some questions, and it gets you some starters. So
Yeah.
it gets you what's done before, and it's a
Yes.
starter. So yeah.
yeah, like when you think about Velcro, for instance,
Mhm.
how to, let's say, putting it simply, how to connect two pieces of material without using zippers. And perhaps it can have, there might be some examples, let's say, on how nature does it. How do things stick? Like you said, burrs, okay, that's one
Mhm.
thing. There's something else that's in the south. It's a moss that hangs from the trees, and that thing really sticks to
Mhm.
you or to the tree or to the branches. There are other examples like that, and I was wondering, if you can, by phrasing the question, like Roger said, you can put it in ChatGPT, and it can
Mhm.
give you different examples from nature, and then you can pick and choose and see what works, perhaps, for what you need. But yeah, that's it. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have
But
definitely
Harry,
used Chat GPT a lot for it. I've kind of trained my Chat GPT is very specific to me. It's how any of these AIs are going to be. The more you use it, the better it knows how to respond to you. So because I'm constantly asking it these kinds of things, I can get a little bit more tailored answers. So the more you use your, maybe have a couple different accounts if you want one to really give you some more nature inspired stuff. Maybe have a different email for your GPT that specifically will keep feeding you nature inspired ones to kind of hone in that language to keep
Yeah,
it
yeah.
on track. Because I mean, GPT can pull from anywhere. If you want super
Mhm.
specific, the more you
Yeah.
train it, the more it's going to respond that way. But yeah, no, I like that idea. I think it would probably just be hard to really get a full true connection of that, but maybe that's some like cool app or something that could be made, or something of like a reference book, like, hey, if you have this, check out here. And because then you're talking about other things for sticking. I'm thinking of frogs, and like they're using more sticky substances, so we're talking more kind of clinging. But what about sticky surfaces that we have
Yeah.
and things like that too? So
All in the
Yeah.
prompts, all in the prompts, and the prompts come from the
yeah.
human, and it can get you some starters, and then the human takes it from there. So yeah,
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the right question.
yeah, and play
Yeah.
around with the prompts, play around with the
Yeah.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
solve
just
the
want,
problem.
I just wanted
Good.
to tell Harry that there is a link in the chat
Mhm.
about a website, asknature.org.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know if he saw that.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I subscribe to that.
Yes, Ask Nature is great. The Biomimicry Institute is great. And again, iNaturalist just shows observations. So you could see observations of what other people did. It won't have that innovation side of it, but you could look at it as a, on a day that you can't get outside, get that inspiration from seeing what other people collected. But they do a lot of really great stuff, and it's fully free because it's all citizen data. They want the data. When you put a cost on it, you lose out on some good stuff. So that's a awesome app to have.
Mhm.
Great job, Melissa. I think we're at the end, but I don't know if there's
Yeah,
any time for more
Time.
questions or
Thank
not.
you, Jennifer.
Okay,
This is
perfect.
wonderful. We're at the end, but we do have a few minutes. The closing ceremony is going to be happening in the main Zoom room at 2:15, and I did pop the link to that in the chat room.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jennifer, can I
Yes.
ask you something? So
Yeah.
you're probably tracking biomimicry for climate change issues.
I'm
Would
kind of
that be?
I'm just
I'm just guessing.
So I love biomimicry for a lot of different things. I've always been that nature kid that played outside and did things like that. But it really, for, climate change and just sustainability in general, it is really huge because so much of what we see, especially seeing things like new consumer products, so many things are being designed, but it's like, is that really necessary? Or even, I do love ChatGPT, but there is an environmental cost to housing all of these, the cloud hubs and everything like that. So there are a lot of things we have to think about with everything that we use. So does that kind of answer?
Well, I was really thinking, so wildfires,
Mhm.
hurricanes in Florida that have gotten so extreme, category
Yeah.
4, are these nature solutions? I mean, I've thought of them as symptoms of the problem, but
Mhm.
I'm wondering if they're solutions,
I
you know?
wonder that that's a really interesting thought, and I love that. I don't know what I would think, because I mean, sometimes they are a result because there wasn't a good solution. So sometimes we do see, nature resets itself and kind of weans out the weak and things like that. So sometimes it could be. It could be a reaction. I don't know, but that's a great mindset to think about of, is this a solution to something? Or because a lot of times you see those extreme things when there is a lack of something, for certain things, when it's really dry and then we get a really big storm and it wipes places out. It's
Mhm,
because it was too
mhm.
dry and things. So yeah, I don't know,
I
but I like that
assume that
mindset.
I assume we've come, that controlled burns, which are very beneficial, are taken from wildfires.
And
Like
things,
clearly
yeah.
this can be managed in a way. What's going on
Mhm.
over there is just out
Yeah.
of bounds for nature, much less us. So anyway, it just crossed my mind. And one thing I thought was super interesting that you said is that there are no one-offs in nature. Is that have I got that right? There are no one-offs in nature.
Yeah. We're not going to see like a single one, like a one-hit wonder type piece like that, or at least it's not going to last for a long time. You know what I mean? But we do have a lot of products that are like, this one thing just happened and it
Pet
doesn't,
rocks.
or
Pet rocks.
something like, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I just thought that was really super interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your questions and everything, on Mike, being brave to come on Mike and in the chat and everything. Thank you.
You said it was okay.
Yes, I did. I wanted it. Less for me to talk. I don't need to use that excess energy.
Anyway, it was a very great presentation. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
I'm going to
much.
be in contact with you.
Absolutely,
I'm going to
yeah.
contact you.
Perfect. Thank you. I love it.
Tell me again where you are.
I'm in Buffalo.
Oh, okay. All right. Congratulations on the
Oh,
upcoming child.
thank you so much.
Bye,
She's
you
going to be
guys.
a
See
little
you in the
science
closing.
nerd.
Oh, great. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Jennifer. It was
Thanks
wonderful.
so much. Thanks, Melissa. All right. Well, have a good rest of your day. I got to go.